Okay, so this is unit 3. I'm going to create a unit 3 folder. And there also my JS directory inside of unit 3. And go ahead and create a new JavaScript file. You call it, I always use main, but you can call it something else, it's fine. Main.js is my file. And the unit 3 folder, let's create a new HTML file. Just call it index. Well, let me call it unit 3. Unit 3, so I'll know. And that's our HTML5 document. And go ahead and link this page to your script. So script src is equal to js/main.js, right? Be careful with this. Just make sure you know where you save your JS file. Okay. In this example, I just put it into the JS file. If you have images, create an image folder. Okay. Organize your data that way. It's just easier to maintain, and also to move these things around. So it's also easy for other people to see it too if you have a different developer. So once you're comfortable with JavaScript, you'll see that you can do a lot with your site. I mean, besides just the coding stuff, you can do a lot to manipulate the DOM tree, and we'll do that in the next chapter, chapter 5. We'll deal with the DOM, and we'll spend 2 weeks to work with the DOM, okay? Because that's what JavaScript is used for, basically to manipulate the DOM tree. And if you don't grasp that, if you don't understand the DOM, how it's built, and how to access the DOM elements, then JavaScript may not be that useful for you, okay? Alright, so let's go into our script file, and let's create some arrays. And for now, we're just gonna we'll write it to the browser. So why don't we go ahead and create a placeholder for to show that here. We could use maybe just a what do we use? A paragraph, I guess. A paragraph is fine. Paragraph, and we'll give this an ID of, we'll put like output, right? We'll output the data to this paragraph tag. So we use the DOM, get element by ID, to target this tag, and then we'll show out to the browser. Okay. So save that file and then go back to the script. Now again, you want to make sure that because our script is located at the top, right? Here, it runs here. We want to make sure that we want to wait until the DOM is completely rendered. So we want to use the window load function to wait. And again, because everything runs from top to bottom. If you don't do that, then it will not find it. The P is not there yet, right? So you want to say window.unload equal, and you could do the anonymous function. It's fine. Or you can call it a different function and then call it. You can say init and then create another function called init or initialize and then run from there. Or you can just say function here. It could be the anonymous function, right? So it'll have a name. It will run this every time you refresh the site. So now we can go ahead and then write our first target. So the target will be that paragraph tag. Okay, so we use the document dot get element by ID and then target that tag. So we'll say document, right? Get element by ID, get element by ID, and then in the paren here is the what do I call it? And just to make sure you output right. So make sure also you have the same spelling. Okay, it's case sensitive. So if you put a lowercase or uppercase, make sure you match exactly at that. Otherwise, it will not find it. It will return null, or not found, and then it won't work. I changed my mind. I'm going to go back and change this to a UL instead. Let's go with the UL or the OL. Either one, the one you choose is fine. Because the paragraph tag, you only put text in there. You can't put other tags in there. If you do, it's going to generate some errors. So let's put a UL. We'll just build some data. And then we'll populate this UL with some data from the array. Right? So really, we're just going to put the LIs. If you want to use a div tag instead and populate that with the paragraph, it's fine too. Either way you do, it's fine. But for now, I'll use the LI. And we're just going to populate that with some data. So we have the target already. Okay, so again, it doesn't matter because what tag it is, we don't really care. All we know is that it finds this output ID and then use that, right? So let's go and build our array. Array was going to be, what do we call this array? I guess we call it places. Okay, we use the array literals to list all these places. And the quickest way is just to use the square brackets. And again, I always want to terminate that with a semicolon. So what's the first place we want to list here? Anybody? Vacation places. Come on. Disney. I love it. Okay. A couple more. I'm sure we'll go to Hawaii, but I put Hawaii in here for me. I've been there once, a while ago. What's next? New Zealand, wow. Sounds fantastic. How about one more? Boise. Oh, okay. I guess we'll go see some bison there, huh? All right. There you go. So we have 5 places, 5 vacation places you want to go. Okay. So now, to add to the target, right? So we want to create the LI, basically LI, the list of items. We want to add that, so we could say there are like lots of ways to do it. Okay, there are different ways to do it. You can append it with a string. Usually, like you don't want to hardcode everything there. So the length of this array is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Yeah, places that length will give you 5. So you could so we know that the size of that already. So we want to loop this array, so you can do the loop, which is another part of is the looping. Is it in this chapter? I don't remember. Yeah. It is, right? Okay. So we have the for loop and the while loop. And we use the for loop here. And the for loop is really popular and has a really nice syntax. So the for loop is you start with the word for, okay, and you wrap it with 3 sets of parameters. Okay, so the first one is going to be your counter. You initialize the counter with a starting point. Usually it's 0. Okay, you can use that with any variable. So I'll use var I. It's very common. I, starting with 0. Okay, the second parameter is the condition, and we want to test when I is. We're going to loop that through the whole array. So when I is less than the size of the array here, right? So in this case, it's 5. And we don't want to hardcode 5 in here, because if you do that, what if I change it to 6 later, right? So you want this to automate every time. So we'll say the length of the array is places.length. And then we're not including the size, so in this way it's good because we're going to go from 0 to the size minus 1. In this case, will be fine because of this less than sign, not inclusive. If you do the inclusive like this, then you want to make sure that you also do a subtraction on the right side of the length here to do a minus 1. Okay, so however you do it, just make sure you do that. So I'll keep it just like this, looks cleaner. And then the third parameter is just the I plus plus the increment. You're updating what we call the update, right? You update your counter, and then we'll wrap that with a curly brace. Now this part here, you will probably see only one variable here. I could initialize a couple variables if I want. I could say for I is 0, j is also 0, and then k is maybe 10, right? And I can use those also in the loop if I want to. But and I could terminate the loop with anything here. Here I choose I. I could choose k or j, doesn't matter. Okay, just also make sure that you do something to your variable here because you want to also get out of this loop. Okay, so in this case they choose I, and we want to make sure that I will always make at one point in the loop will make this to be false so we can exit out the loop. Okay, so just so that you can do this if you want to, but we'll just use the I for now. All right, so
so if you put other ones in there like J and K, can you also put like along with I plus plus, can you do something with J and K on that part?
Over here?
Yeah.
I think you can. Yeah, you can. You can even do you can put more condition here too if you want, but I mean it wouldn't make sense. But yeah, you can do here. You can also do over here. You can even call another function here if you want. Okay, yeah, really, it's a little piece of code. You can put a piece of code there if you want. It's not common, but you can. Okay. So now we want to loop through the array called places and read each element and then add it to the li, right? So we want to say li is equal to, or we want to do something like the concatenator, right? We want to concatenate li, whatever it was before, with the so the li will just use the code. We can hard code this in for now. There's another way you can actually do this using functions, but we'll put li. Well, I want this. I want to say li and then Disney, right? You want it to look like that for each of those. li Disney, li Hawaii, and New Zealand, and so on. That's the result of this. So we get the li part, and then we want to get the data from the array. So we'll say plus the places of index I, right? Because I is currently at 0, so it will grab the first one and then append that to the li, and then we need to also close the tag. So again, plus, and we'll just close the li. Okay? And we'll do that 5 times. So in the end, this li here will hold a string of those 4 or 5 elements. And notice that I did not use the var or the let or that, right? In this example here, the li here becomes a global variable, which may or may not be ideal. Okay, so usually you would say something above here, say var li is equal to blank, and then you set that first. And so because after you run this function here, the li gets wiped out. Okay, so it's probably more popular. I mean, it's better to do this way, so it doesn't consume a lot of resources. So I'll leave that as there. And then finally, once we run through this loop, the li now has a string of 5 elements, and then we just basically want to append that or replace that to our target location, so that in the code here we have a 4 or 5 bullet points. And to do that is now we have a target, right? And the target to add data to any of those HTML tags, we use the inner HTML function or property, okay, and then assign that with the string which is stored in the li. Just know that I think I mentioned last time, if it's on the left side, the inner HTML, if it's on the left side you are actually replacing the data. If it's on the right side, you're reading the data from it. Okay, so and and that should do it. If it's working the way we have, there's no error. Hopefully not. And you can go ahead and save that and save your file here and run it. I already run Monterey, so I'll save that here. And I'm just going to refresh my screen, and hopefully that it will display my 5 places. Okay. Again, just show you that this is the result. If you do a source view, you see that there's nothing there. Okay, because this is the physical DOM tree. There's nothing there, and JavaScript created this for us virtually. So we have a virtual DOM, and because of this virtual DOM, you can modify, you can edit it, you can delete data, you can do all sorts of stuff with JavaScript to interact with the DOM. And to see the actual result of the li, then you can't really see it because source view only show you what the physical DOM was. So you have to do the inspection, right? The tool here, the F12 key, go Control I, inspect. Okay, and then if you click the Elements tab, you see the actual tree. That was generated by JavaScript, or the DOM tree, but created by JavaScript. And that is our DOM.